This episode of the Better Every Shift podcast is brought to you by Lexipol, the experts in policy, training, wellness support, and grants assistance for first responders and government leaders. To learn more, visit lexipol.com. That's LEXIPOL.com. Now let's get into the show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Better Every Shift podcast. My name is Aaron Zamzow. I am a fire officer up in Wisconsin. I'm not in Canada, but we're going to go there today with our guest, who I like to say is probably one of the most interesting people in the fire service. We will get to him, but with me, as always, is the commander, who is also a subject of this podcast episode, and we'll get into that as well. But I just want to say, Janelle Foskett, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, you kind of gave me the evil look. So first of all, if someone's listening to this, you got to go to the YouTube channel and watch this, because Janelle does not like to talk about herself. And our guest kind of doesn't like to talk about himself much either, which is why it's great to have a good friend of me personally, a great friend of the fire service. We have Kory Pearn from CRACKYL Magazine here. He is, he's from Canada. He's a fire captain up in Canada. He's the publisher and editor-in-chief of CRACKYL Magazine, which is a quarterly magazine focused on helping firefighters find balance, work, home, mental, physical health. The reason why Janelle is also going to be part of the show is because Kory did an amazing thing and reached out to all the different editors of fire service publications and said, hey, people think that we compete. I want to show just how unique the fire service is and how we all really are pulling for each other. So he did a special crossover, and we're going to get into that. We're going to see why he's the most interesting person in the fire service. But first and foremost, buddy, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So for our listeners that maybe haven't seen it, hopefully they have, in a firehouse, at a trade show, sitting around somewhere. What was the inspiration? How did you get started in the magazine?
Well, it was something that just, I could take this on many different ways.
Let's do it.
I enjoyed publications. I had, kind of pitched an idea of a lifestyle and health magazine. It was more of it was an idea. It was a concept. But then, as time went on, nothing happened with it. I kind of sat on it, and then, continued to, be affected by losing people that were, retired not even a year and dying and passing away of a heart attack, to, friends to suicide, different health. I had my own health scares. So things became really real, and it instead of an idea or a concept, it really became kind of a necessity and something that I just had to get out of me. I think it was, I didn't know how, I didn't know really what it was going to be. I knew I could put together a magazine that, a physical hard copy magazine and have it look good, but I didn't really know what the movement was going to be, or what the impact was going to be, until, it's been a daily grind, and trying to have people kind of see that, it's a tool, and it's just hopefully a better way. And, as we need to do better, that's it. And how do we do that is all discovery.
Yeah. So it's almost like a personal journey. It really wasn't about the magazine per se. It was kind of like, you're going through this, you're seeing all this. How can you give back to the fire service, right? And I think you also realize that that's something that personally would benefit yourself, right?
Yeah, I think, well, I wrote a book on how to become a firefighter, and I was helping firefighters basically get hired and get into the fire service. And then, that kind of dawned on me as well, and it kept me fresh. It kept me enjoying the job, loved going to work. But then it kind of hit me that I'm not doing enough for the people that are at work. I'm helping people get in, but then what? So, and then I'm losing people. So it became a shift. It became a mental shift, and something that, it became I became possessed, I guess. I just
Yeah. What
Mhm.
what a lot of our conversations are is I'm always amazed at your business prowess. I'm gonna tell a little bit about the Lego guitar. Can you like? But I think that gives people really good insight into just how you look at something. You're like, hey, wait a minute, let's develop this. Give me a little Lego guitar story here.
Well, that was so I got into Lego. So I was off work, so I had some heart issues, and I was home. I was home, and I had my kids, and I had two daughters, and it became something that I thought we could do since I wasn't supposed to do much, and then you figure out the price of Lego, and being a firefighter, I'm like, well, there has to be a better way. So then I started buying bulk Lego and then sifting out pieces and then selling it back and selling it, still as I just wanted certain pieces for certain things I was trying to build. And then so I was trying to teach my kids to, build from your mind instead of building from instructions. And, I think it's important to do both, but one's the obvious, the other one's not so obvious.
Yeah.
So that was really it. And then we just my collection, I blink and I have a collection that's bursting into several rooms in our house, and you know um building Lego. So my whole point was to try to decorate my office. So I did a Breaking Bad meth lab under the laundromat.
Not real size, by the way, folks. It
Yeah.
was scale. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
no cops involved.
So I did that one. And it was fun. And then from there, I did some other little projects. I did a concert, so I built the whole stage and the audience and security and speakers and all the stuff. And then I took on a Lego guitar. So I built a Stratocaster, and it has your
Functioning guitar out of Legos.
well, it's not functioning, but it's the right size to scale,
Okay.
frets. Yeah, the whammy bar works. The pickup was all inlaid, and the knobs all turn, and all the keys turn. So it was fun. It was a life size. I sent that to Fender just to have them see it, and they had a kick out of it. So
Yeah.
it was fun.
Well, and you had some good press out of that. And I ask these stories because I think it gives us insight into your creativity. You talk about health, wellness, and balance, and that's transferred in. You could see it into Crackle, how you guys have really just taking a different angle. We can be better in certain avenues, not just about pulling hoses, but about everything from finance to fitness to mental health. Where does that kind of side come in? Like, how do you combine the creativity with some of these? They're not sexy topics.
Sure.
So where do you go with that?
Yeah, I think you know it's fun trying to figure out how we can take these topics that like you said, aren't sexy, but make them something that is kind of digestible and something you can use and utilize, which that does play into the firefighter. If you can show me a better way of doing something, I'll do it. I'm not gonna not do it
Hmm.
just because I'm stubborn. That's the fire service. So I think I kind of play into that a little bit. I like to say we mix in the vegetables with the dessert, so it's flashy, it's shiny, and all those things that attract us. And then we kind of, next thing you know, you realize you're learning something, or so it's just been really a discovery.
You've got some great covers, some unbelievable covers.
Yeah,
You had Janelle Foskett on the cover with Pete Matthews, and
that's right.
like,
Right
uh,
here.
there it is. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay,
and
well,
there, yeah, very good. Yep, right there. That's our own commander on there. And like I said, you look at things differently. What gave you the inspiration, or what made you think of that? Because
well,
those are
I
the
mean,
editors from
yeah,
Firehouse, from Fire Engineering, and from Fire Rescue One here. And you're thinking these are all competitors, right? But
yeah.
you brought this article out, and I think people read that article, they'll find something different.
Yeah, again, it's such a grind. This, publications and media, Janelle, like there's no glory in any of the hard work that you do. Really, it's all behind the scenes, and trying to get things right. Honestly, it's really just a tribute to if we didn't have these editors and these publications, the fire service would be even more fragmented and siloed than it is now in a monumental scale. So for me, it was just, I know what a grind it is. And I just wanted to have the fire service actually see that, we all work tirelessly to somehow support and, have this connect the dots between our different stations and cities. And, so it really, it's a tribute. And thank you, Janelle, for graciously, being part of this project. And honestly, it just, I have no words, because it really does show that unity. The fire service there's nothing like it. There really is. There's nothing like it. And the people is what ultimately makes it so great. So
I've read the article. It's got Chief Rhodes, David Rose, Pete Matthews, Janelle Foskett, and you ask them some pretty poignant questions. Janelle, there are some great responses in you. I don't think people understand how much you've sacrificed behind the scenes. I know Kory understands that, but like, you've been in the industry for well over 20 years, right, Janelle?
Just about 20 years.
So, from when you were asked by Kory to do this, what was your thought?
My first thought was it was a huge honor, and then how do I dive under my desk and hide? I definitely, as a lot of people know about me, I prefer to be behind the scenes. But Kory, I so appreciate the opportunity, and it was a really good experience. Just like this podcast has certainly taken me out of my comfort zone with the behind the scenes. The CRACKYL Magazine interview and cover absolutely took it another step, and so that's good for me. And it's really great to highlight, the entire team here at Fire Rescue One. I mean, there's so many people working really, really hard to get the news out, the training information, the thought leadership content. It's such a strong team effort. And, in terms of like working with Pete and David, I mean, I think things are just, they're technically competitors, but it's less competitive and more of complementing each other and being, focusing on the camaraderie part of it. We can help each other tell the stories in different ways and reach different people and make sure they're hearing, the safety messages, the health messages, whatever it might be. So it was a really fun experience, and I really appreciate it. Again, it was fun.
I'm super excited. I want people to read this from the standpoint of, I think, Kory, you said it, and Janelle, you said it. I see how much work you guys put in. Like, Kory, I can only imagine starting your own publication. I've known you now for 4 or 5 years, and I mean, this is a nonstop. You're always thinking about it. You're always, trying to find different avenues, different articles, different ways to connect with the fire service. And Janelle, I've watched her for 20 years do the same thing. One of the things I think you both kind of echoed was, people think there's huge teams behind these, right? It's, you're 2-3 people, if that, right? Like, I can only imagine now you're starting to look at growing a little bit, Kory, but what was that like at first? Like, were you ever looking at it going, there's no freaking way I can do this? Like, I mean, what was the biggest challenge for you when you first started?
Well, I mean, honestly, if I did think about it, I wouldn't do it. So
Smart.
I have to, yeah.
Don't think
Ignorance
about
is
it.
bliss,
Just
right?
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I think I say to my wife almost every day, like, I have so many things on my mind, and it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that you're trying to do so many things, and you're not sure what's being effective, or it's just exciting. And it's either you like this line of work or you don't. And there's no gray area. You can't fake it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work, but it's also very rewarding. And like I said, when I started, I just wanted to put out a magazine. I just wanted to figure out what that would look like, what the articles would be, and how would that relate to the firefighter and be absorbed. And it was, every issue is like, it's like giving birth. I think I've never given birth, but
Yeah.
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 But it's really exciting, and
Yeah.
it's when they do arrive and you see all that hard work, but then you reset and you go after it again. That's the hard part, is just, okay, that's done, and then what's next?
What's been the moment of gratitude? What's one particular moment where you're either at a show or you're sitting at your desk and you're like, this is
Hmm.
why I'm doing it. Like, give me one of those stories.
Oh wow. There's one was FDIC. I had a guy came up to me. We were tearing down our booth. We were done, right? 4 days, whatever. And he had a prosthetic leg, could see that. And he's like, I'm not having a good day. Okay. He goes, this was a lot for me. And so we start to kind of unpack that. And so he had seen the stair climb, the event going on, just that he can't do that anymore. Things like that. He had smelled smoke, so he hasn't been on the job in 4 years because since his injury. He also lost his brother. So last time he heard bagpipes was his brother's funeral. So there was a lot, and we talked, and went back and forth. We hugged. We had tears in our eyes, and the whole drive home, I was thinking about. I just wanted to hang out with this guy again. I want him to do something, because he's. I kept saying, like, you've lost your leg. You're not dead. You
Yeah.
have so much. Your story is just beginning, and we have to figure out what that is to you. And anyway, so it's just very emotional. And so anyway, I ended up inviting him out to the FDNY Fire Academy to meet Dennis Leary and the Leary Foundation. And he came with us. So I said, I'll pay your flight, pay your hotel. I just want you to come and hang out with us. And I have an Airbnb, and I want you to stay with us. And so we can bug you. And man, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And we connected. It's probably, I know, lifelong friends now,
Yeah.
like, we have these moments, and CRACKYL did that. To me, that's what CRACKYL is. That's, again, the magazine's a product. It's a thing. The CRACKYL is a movement. It is a mindset. It is, this is what we need to be doing for each other.
Yeah.
And I got more out of that than he ever did.
What's the CRACKYL stand for?
Well, CRACKYL is, I wanted something that kind of, was a synergy between firefighters. So you hear the crackling fire, you can't see it, feel it. So that's a moment, it's a very peaceful moment in some ways, hearing that crackling, because you're listening. And then the underscore is, we want to keep firefighters in the amber or the green, not the red line. So, and then the why, I was explaining that we're trying to, create immune systems for firefighters. That's what we're trying to do. And so why was kind of the symbol for immunity. So I pulled that into the masthead.
And I just have to add that my husband, whose name is Drew, but spelled DRYW, very much appreciates the spelling
Amazing.
of CRACKYL Magazine.
Well, I said to my wife, I said, this is either a smart thing or it's the dumbest thing I've ever done. Like, I don't, it was one of those, are firefighters going to get it? Are they going to like it? Or is it going to be, play on things that doesn't make any sense? And so, but now I look at it, and it seems normal to me. And so it's, and I think people enjoy it. So
It's becoming part of the fire culture. I mean, you had mentioned Dennis Leary. You had him on the cover. You got to interview Dennis Leary. Who else? Give us some of the other covers that you've had.
Well, I had Stipe Miocic, the UFC former heavyweight champion. I had Steve Lemmy, and we still go back and forth quite a bit. And who else have I had? Sarah Janecki. So I get some, kind of brought, our scientists that, again, unsung heroes, that work tirelessly, travel all the time, make sacrifices, and firefighters typically don't know these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. James
So
Gearing, I think it was on one of them
James
too,
Carey,
right?
yeah, he
Yep.
was on
Yep.
Fall last year. Yeah. I had Travis House. The list goes on.
Do you have a favorite interview or a favorite story that you guys have run?
Um, I've liked them all because I've sourced them all. For me, it's
Yeah.
it's like having children. It's like, how do you pick one? I enjoy them all. They all have their own angles, and it's not really what they're about. It's the timing that they happened. So at that moment, it was, where I was at. So it's a lot of those things. So a lot of emotion with all of it. So,
Yeah. Give us a good Dennis Leary story.
uh, well, going to New York was fun getting to meet him. I showed up with our team, and then we did some photos outside with the sign, and then we walk up, and um, he was the first person we met coming in the door. So I thought I was going to be able to kind of get the lay
Offer
of
a
the
little bit,
land,
like it's yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I was like, turn a corner, it's like, shit, there he is. Like,
yeah.
so so that was a funny moment. And I had met, some of the cast from Rescue Me. So um, did the different photos and different things. And then, but it was fun because we had some good conversations. At the end of the day, we're all just people. And I met Michael J. Fox. So that was huge. I didn't know he was going to be there. And so end up, having a great chat with him. And yeah, I didn't realize, again, I didn't realize how meaningful that conversation was, and how iconic he was to, you know, things, growing up, and the Back to the Futures and all those, just,
Yeah.
yeah. And I just never thought I'd ever meet him. I had mentally prepared to meet Dennis Leary, right? I had kind of absorbed and thought I knew what that was going to be like. But I didn't fabricate what it would be like to meet, Michael J. Fox. So
Yeah. The challenge is it's really interesting when you start to meet like, some people that you are famous or more successful or popular. I mean, when you could close the curtain and just be people and connect, the challenges are the same, right? Like, yep, Dennis
absolutely.
Leary's daughter doesn't listen to him sometimes either, right? Michael J. Fox, same thing, right? Like, they all have stresses or we all have our challenges. One thing I think that everybody has in common is some of the big things that you guys address: the mental health, the physical health. And so, if you would just take us through a little bit of like your own personal health issue and how that kind of evolved into the magazine.
Yeah, it seems surreal, to be honest. I forget that it happened, in some ways. I think I try to mentally put it aside, but um, so I had like a heart flutter, different. My heart would run away on me. My resting heart rate was about 160, and it was, really just, I'd have spells. So my constant would be, pumping, but eventually, and sometimes I would have a spell where I would go gray, and it was an atrial fibrillation. So it was, and I ignored it. I ignored it for years. And then I was fine when I was moving, but I wasn't when you try to rest. I couldn't sleep. For years, I never slept on my left side, because as soon as I did, my heart would spin out. So,
Mm.
and so you have to, you're not functioning properly. But yet I was still, at the time, I was a salesperson for like 5 different magazines, and running my Fire Career Expo, all these things, and just ignoring it.
It's still on the job. You're on the front line too at the
Still
same
on the
time.
job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still trying to do the P90X workouts when I could, and things like that. And then if I worked out, my whole day was euchred. Like, it was, I didn't, just didn't feel right. So then it got to the point that I think my heart reached a point where it just started to deteriorate. The walls and the heart were getting thicker, and enlarged, to do the same amount of work, that type of thing. So I ended up, you know, not feeling well. Basically, I had congestive heart failure. And I remember laying on the couch. I couldn't sleep because my lungs were taking on water. And anyways, I had 3 nights of that where I literally didn't sleep. And I'm thinking I'm going to get through this. And it was just pure stubborn. I didn't want to go and get looked at. So by the last night, I end up, I woke my wife up and I said, I can't do this. Like I have to go in. Like I can't do this. So, and actually the day before that, I went to a walk-in clinic and they said they were going to call an ambulance for me. And I said, no, I'll go to the hospital. And I went home and I didn't go. So it's like, how many times do you have to be told? And it's like, that's so stubborn. Like, I didn't realize, and you forget what good feels like. That's the other side. So this was my normal. And anyway, so I ended up going to the hospital. I had an IV in my wrist within 5 minutes of walking in the thing. My heart was at a 20% rejection factor. Basically, I was hospitalized for a week. I was supposed to be going to 2 different trade shows. I had to cancel, those things, which was really hard for me to be taken out of my life. And I was learning that things were slipping away. The one thing that I was kind of hoping wouldn't happen happened immediately, where I had to cancel trips. I had to step back from certain things. I'm sitting in a hospital bed, families coming to visit me. People at work have no idea that I'm just off. You book sick, and they had no idea. I didn't want anybody to know. So all these things were happening. The resident doctor ended up sitting at the edge of my bed the first night because he wanted to meet the guy that was my age. I was, say 42 at the time. And, just doing all these things and with this heart that basically was dying. And anyway, so it was a journey. It was a journey back to health. And medications initially just kind of keep my heart at a, moderate pace, and then to help compress so it could relax. And that's when the Lego and the things, I was off work for a year. My phone stopped ringing because, we're the go-to people for all things. Phone stopped ringing. That killed me. That was worse. That was the worst part of it all, to be honest. You just feel totally not needed and useless. So then
feeling disconnected from your crew and
everything. Yeah, you're totally alienated, and you're that guy. You're that person that's and then all the talk and all these, fears. But I never visited work for a year. I didn't step foot in our fire stations for a year. I couldn't. And then my question is, why? Like, why? What happened? And why do I feel that way? So there was a lot of discovery that I think I had. And then I had, some people would reach out, some people wouldn't or didn't. Things that you thought they would. And then you realize that we suck at this stuff.
We do.
It's not that we didn't want to, it's just that you didn't want to bring it up. Maybe I didn't want to talk about it. So there's all those things. And then, so I learned, instead of, if I wanted someone to come over and have a coffee or to see me, then why wouldn't I just reach out and say, hey man, Aaron, come over and have a coffee with me. I miss work. But you don't do that because I'm waiting for you to call me, which, so I think it's really about, if you want something to happen, or if you need to, just ask. And why do you wait? Why do you make yourself, I think that, and that goes through, I think, all aspects of our life. And I think it's something that's not just when you're sick. I think it's just in general, like, so yeah, it was a year of discovery, to say the least. One thing that got me through it is I always just thought, because I remember laying in the hospital bed. I'm like, how the hell did I get here? Like, I've always been an athlete, always, never had any issues. And then here I am with, getting ablations done. And anyway, so I just remember saying, like, I'm just glad it's me and not my wife, not my kids. It's me, and I'll figure this out. Somehow I have to figure this out, and I've said goodbye to my kids twice without them knowing. Like, it's fear of blood clots. And once your heart starts pumping properly, then you have you're moving blood that may not have been, excuse me, sitting in this, in your heart. So there's all these things, and I was cardio inverted, so I'm the 2.0 version right now. So it's been a journey, like I said, but I liked who I was. I love being a dad. I love how I am a dad, and I love being married. I love, having that system. And so I didn't want to change everything. But now I just didn't want it to change at all. I didn't want it to be different. And I think that's really where I was at. So, yeah, it was something I'm actually grateful that I went through, because
Yeah.
it kind of
But-
opened my eyes on a lot of things, and to see what people go through. And,
Yeah, I remember sitting there that night. I kept asking you, why? Why did you not get help? Like,
Mhm.
why? And I mean, we had a pretty good heart to heart. And I think, the more I would ask, the more you'd be like, well, this is what I thought. Like, you're somebody who has been successful in so many things. I know a little bit more probably than most about your background. And, there's nothing that you haven't really touched that hasn't somehow worked out the way that you had somehow envisioned it. But this is the one thing, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you kept thinking,
Yeah.
well, I can control this heart issue,
Mhm.
like,
Or it's just
and
in my head. Yeah, it's just in my
yeah,
head.
in your head, you're like, this is just going to go away because that's what I do. I know how I can fix all this stuff. And, and as time went on, it got worse and it got worse and got worse. And I think you bring up just a plethora of lessons for all of us to learn. Is number one, I think you said it, don't be a stubborn idiot, but,
Mhm.
um, you had to go through some self exploration. Uh, what did your wife say to you though? Like, what was the family's kind of response to you taking so much time to get the help?
Yeah, I think it became our new normal. So, I would wake up and I would be home, which was so unusual. It's like I felt like I had a pandemic before a pandemic, like it
Yeah.
was my life had shut down. My everything I was doing shut down. And um but it was really about just trying to get back to normal.
Yeah.
Whatever normal became, I was ready for that. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful that it happened. And in some ways, I think humility is something that, honest, I think it's probably one of the best things that you could experience, when you can just, you know really realize that anything we have can be taken away. And it's hard to live your life like that. Like, someone cuts you off on the road, it's hard to be all like, hey, that's okay, like, I'm glad to be alive.
You're from Canada. I thought that's whatever. Hey, it's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's
No,
fine. I
no.
thought hey, I'm sorry. Don't you apologize for that. You're from Canada, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it's hard, but obviously it's more of an idea, not an actual. So, but anyways, it's something that definitely gives me, the courage to do what I'm doing with this magazine. And um you know I have nothing to lose. I feel like I have everything to gain. and
Yeah.
and for that, I feel like I have so much to give. I have so much to give back to the fire service. I'm grateful for being here. Um and it seems normal to me to do this.
Kory, like, it was just 4 years ago, right? Was
Yeah.
that how long it was?
Yeah, well, it's
Actually,
2017, so it's
okay.
been the pandemic kind of a time warp, but yes.
Okay, got it. Because it's not that long a time when you really think about where you were to where you are now. You've launched an entire magazine, for goodness sakes,
Yeah.
during that time. That's a huge endeavor, a very successful business. So, I mean, considering where you were and you had to take a year off, where did you begin? How did you incrementally, essentially, do a complete 180 on your life?
Yeah. Um, I just started with discovery. I didn't know what I wanted to do, to be honest. I wanted to do something different. So the company I was working for, I realized I wasn't advancing. I was going to stay as a salesperson, and that was it, because being a full-time firefighter really kind of capped that for me. And And then I realized, oh, I wanted more. I wanted more. And then all these other things that we talked about as to why. So I quit and started to kind of figure out what my next move was. I was actually pretty close to opening a Lego store. It was kind of, it was an idea, but then I didn't want that to, show up and physically open a door and open a shop. I didn't want that. And so it became, what can I do? And then I thought, maybe I'll take on this magazine idea that I had. And it's something it was always kind of there. And again, I still have everything I have fake, magazine covers and articles and topics that this is all years ago that I had created all this. So I started pulling that back out. And actually I had a guy that I work with at the firehouse that we would meet once a week, and he was working on his projects and I was working on building this out. So we would have discovery meetings and that type of thing. And we end up losing him. He committed suicide. And that was it was one of those things that was like, it was right under my nose. And again, it was like, it's just, we keep getting it wrong. We keep getting it wrong. And so Crackles is a lot of things to me. I think that's why I have so much gas in the tank to do this, is because I have so many areas and things to pull from for strength, or for just a reason to get out of bed to do it. I think without really, I've never really put it in words like that, but I think that's probably why it's so innate in me to get out of me.
Yeah.
You have the personal side, you have the relationship side with, like you had said, we do a really good job of helping others. We need to work on helping each other, especially ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think you're helping us do that with the articles. I mean, there's a lot of stuff about health, wellness, fitness, obviously, just a lot of personal journeys that are inspiring within the magazine. What you had mentioned, your inspiration just comes from all those different experiences. But where's the idea? Where's the creativeness come from? You have a pretty zany group of people that work with you, and I love them all. By the way, because every time I see them, they nothing but hugs and laughter. And is that where you get that creative side? Is you're just by the people you hang out with, or do you just look at the fire service a little differently?
Yeah, I think it's I mean, I just pay attention. I think I didn't realize I was, but I was paying attention, like I've been, 21 years. It's a lot of time to see a lot of things. And I somehow I was paying attention. I don't, and I can pull back to what it was like to be new. I can pull back to what it was like to, be on certain calls and have certain captains above you, or who knows, I was able, and I think it is tricky. You have to you could have a situation, but then you have to figure out what was the purpose of that situation, or what do we learn from that situation. And that's where I like to kind of dabble. I think is that stuff makes sense to me. And yeah, Crackles, like, coming up with article ideas is something. It's great. There's nothing like it. And, and then to see it actually come to life and get published and put creative around it. And there's nothing like it,
Yeah. And until the next one.
Until the next one. Yeah. Yeah.
Give me one thing you learned from one of the articles that was written in the magazine.
We just did like an 8-page heart article.
Very good article, by the way. Everybody should read that one.
And it was, and even being down that road, we had, a cross section between our scientists and kind of a CRACKYL writing back to it. I read some of it and I was like, holy shit, no wonder I was where I was. It wasn't, it's the not sleeping. It's the, eating, a lot of eating on the run type deal. Drinking, and not exercising enough, and all these things. There's like, no wonder I had some of these problems, you know. It's like, did I? So it was those that was an eye opener, and that was recent. I've had other ones too. A lot of the relationship ones are a discovery. It's questions I have that I'm asking, and I was called a changing of the guard. So especially when kids are little, the advice I give to firefighters that are new families and have young kids, and you have to realize that your life, it's not about you for many years, for a few years. It's not about your wife or your your partner either. It's really you're raising kids, and everybody's kind of doing everything they can. Everyone's working their ass off. No one has enough money, so you have to kind of look at it from everyone's perspective. And my wife would I would come home from night shift, and my wife would be going to work, and so she had the kids all night, and I would have them all day, and then I'd go back to work, and then she would, so it's like things that you would argue about, or kind of, whether it's dishes in the sink or whatever, and all of it becomes really really simple when you realize you're both single parents. And that's really, where I had those moments. And there's articles that kind of talk about these things, and a firefighter coming home because they've been away, you think that it's a big deal that you're home, so when you come home everyone should run to the door, and
Yeah, right.
you know
Yeah.
and you know and but
Usually
it's
it's just the dog, right? That's it. You're like, where
yeah,
is everybody
yeah,
else? You know?
exactly. And you feel like, but when you're for me, like when my wife gets home, do I run to the door and see her? No, I don't. Right. So it's, why am I such a big deal? And so when you flip that, and it's actually, again, I'm grateful to get home, that my house my kids were fine. I didn't worry about them. My wife was fine. I didn't worry. You know what I mean? Like, your house is being ran, and your absence. So these things are huge. I think, really, when you look at a family dynamic, and understanding that there's other people in this circus that you call life, that have a show as well. And so these things were, as we unpack that, you know
Yeah.
and yeah,
You you've had a great kind of I'm starting to uncover a little bit about how that I think your health issue really, like you said, it really helped you with your ego, check yourself at the door. And it just seems like you have an angle of gratitude for everything that you're doing. And I think that's why you and I really hit it off, because I'm very grateful for you being on the show, number one, but Janelle giving me the opportunity to do this. And I think sometimes it takes something like a heart issue, or struggles with family, and to really turn that kind of mind's eye to, we got a great thing we get to do. We get to make a positive impact. We get to go into people's houses, and they want us there because they know we're going to help them, um, so I love that's coming out of you. I can really see it now. Just you are very grateful. What is one of the surprise things that you've learned and developed that helps you become a better fire officer?
So things that help me is just remembering how I felt when I came in the door. Like, I kind of resort back to the job for that. um you know we're hiring people that have life experience. We're hiring people that have a life before getting hired, in a lot of ways. And we're kind of told to shut up and sit there and don't say anything. And I don't feel like we're utilizing our members properly by having everybody shut up and just occupy space because we're the big deal.
Mhm.
So I think, again, I like to learn, and I also like to, I feel like everybody has something to give, and doesn't matter what your years of service is. I mean, I find it refreshes and rejuvenates, you know me wanting to be there, which is why I enjoyed working with fire recruits. In Canada, it's a little different than the US, but we get our education, kind of before we can apply, I guess. Is So helping firefighters try to get in, get an interview or a job offer was, something that I I just very grateful for that. It reminded me as when I got hired, like, I mean, our fire department took a chance on me from all of the different applicants and all the different things. And, I've always felt that, um, they took a chance on me, and I'm going to, do everything I can to, to be a good hire for them, and I think that's kind of how I've always looked at it. And then helping people get in has always kind of kept that fresh. It's kept it, where they would trade a spot with me in an instant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's always been there. I've always kind of enjoyed this job, and I've always been very grateful for this job. But then, you find out the job kind of eats you up and spits you out if you don't pay attention to it. And that's what I've learned. So as much as I love it, as much as I like helping people get into it, this job is constantly turning, and I don't want to be a statistic. I want to figure this out. I got to figure out the combination for this career.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not alone though, buddy. I mean, we're with you. What's the biggest balance advice you would give to somebody in the fire service now? Not just an editor, but just based off your experience, because you got so many irons in the fire, like you're talking about. Like
Sure.
what really helps you?
For me, it's distractions. So like I'm in two bands. I sing in one, play guitar, and I drum in another one.
And apparently you're going to be a manager of another one,
Yeah, yeah. The
right? Your
kick band.
daughters are in a
Yeah,
band or will be
that's
in a
right.
band too, right? Yep.
That's right.
Good for you. Good.
And so have distractions. I find me trying to figure out or learn a song in the real world, that doesn't really mean anything. Honestly, it doesn't mean anything to anybody but me. But it gives me enough of a distraction that's a problem, and I lose, the fact that I have to do all these other things, and I go and do that for a couple hours, and I come back and I feel like I've been away for 8 hours.
Yeah. Recharges you in a way,
Yeah.
right?
And then when I'm
Yes.
off shift and I'm doing all this CRACKYL stuff, and I have the band and going here and doing this, and then I come back to work, I feel like I've been off for 3 weeks.
Yeah. And it's only been a day or 2 days,
It's only
right?
been
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
totally. Yeah.
Yep.
So I
Well,
find that helps.
and that's I think that's part of the other thing is that you're very musically gifted, and that's probably part of the creative thing. Typically, creative people have kind of that musical side to them, but I think that's just another great thing. Like, have a distraction, a healthy distraction,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think we've all seen unhealthy distractions and what that can do to health and relationships. So have that healthy distraction. I mean, that's one of many notes that I've written down from all of your wisdom, my friend. So thank you for sharing all these bits of wisdom. So great to have you on. I could go on for hours. Janelle, though, has you're not done. We got a couple questions for you that we like to ask all of our guests.
Yeah.
So without further ado, Janelle, give us our first hot seat question. Now's your time to get back at him, by the way.
All right, Kory, what is the biggest challenge you see facing the fire service today?
Just removing silos, having, fire departments connect, and we have to use this internet properly, I think is really, we use it for social media and all this stuff that really at the end of the day means nothing. And we need to use it for, I think, connectivity and, and building programs. Maybe the neighboring, state has the best program in the world. We need to know that. I think that's where we're challenged right now.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Is sharing. I think is and collaborating is really something too.
Yeah.
Like, and I think obviously you reaching out to all the other editors. It's a great start. There's so many things that we have in common, and we just don't need to recreate the wheel. We need to support each other. We talk about challenges. We asked about the fire service. You had mentioned some of your personal challenges, with the heart issues and just, getting the magazine off the ground. I mean, what's a personal challenge that you've overcome, say, in the last like 6 months or so?
Oh, well, my daughters are dating now, so that's one.
Okay.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, think about these days, when they're babies, and you're thinking one day, right, and all this stuff, and then but I've learned that, they've learned everything they're going to learn in the sense of who they are, and my daughter actually asked to go camping and going to a cottage or whatever with her boyfriend, and his parents. And she asked me first, which I thought was pretty remarkable. And then
Uh-huh.
I said that I trust her. I said that, it's your life, and you're going to make decisions, but they're going to be your decisions to make. And I trust you. And it was a moment. It was a great moment. And I do realize I won't always be there, and it's hard to step back and because we like to control things. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's just, we had a moment, and I learned, and yeah, there's a lot of respect there. So
Wow, good for you. That's tough.
it is tough, very tough. Yeah.
That's even harder than kind of stepping back, looking in the mirror about your own health sometimes, man. Good for you.
All right, Kory, who has had the biggest positive influence on your fire service life?
Wow. I've had a few. Because I think as you go through, some people that were big influences early aren't there anymore, for many reasons. And so, um, right now, I would say it's some of the more recent people. So, Sarah Janaki and Frank Liebs of the world. And yeah, there's very, very grateful for them to. I think when I started CRACKYL, Sarah specifically, I knew she was, somebody that knew how the fire service worked, and I reached out to her very early to just see if I was off my rocker trying to create this. And she was very supportive, and in a way that, it was what I needed to hear at the time, I think, without saying very much at all. And I'll just never forget that. So
We love
Great
Sarah.
people. Yep, friends of the show.
yeah.
Even if you were a little crazy, I think she likes that. I think we all do a little bit too, which is great. And I think that's why it's successful. It's because there is a little bit of craziness behind it, and we are submerged in it. But we're crazy, but we're also on a mission to improve. And we had mentioned that we're kind of misfits in our own way,
Mhm.
because that's what drives us. And so to bring it all home back to the root of the podcast, and I think the root of why you do what you do is, what are you doing to get better?
Well, for me, it's just, continuing to show up. That's, I realize I don't have all the answers. I realize I never will have all the answers. But I don't mind asking. And again, I try not to have any pride, try to remain humble. And, it's all good. It's just discovery. And, and when I met you, Janelle, and it was like, I think I said it was long overdue. And it was so great to chat. And and really, these are the moments. And if I didn't ask, then we wouldn't be, sitting here right now. So it's these things. So I just really, really enjoy this discovery. And I have, like I said, no pride.
Well, your staff does a good job of kind of putting you back down into
Yes, they
place, and
do.
we
Yeah.
need great people like that around us. And you've surrounded yourself with great people.
Yeah.
You've had some great ideas, and you just you show up every day to work on them. And I want to say thanks to both of you. I mean, Kory, of course, for you with your creativity to reach out, to ask the other editors, and to do what you do. If somebody is listening to this and hasn't read CRACKYL, you can go to the website. They also have a great app that they're developing. I highly recommend everybody checking that out. Just as they can check out the show on Fire Rescue One. You can also email us if you have questions that we can relay on to Kory or to Janelle or myself. You can email us at bettereveryshift@firerescue1.com. I've said it a couple of times. There's some passion in the eyes of Kory Pearn, and you can see that on our YouTube channel. So if you're just listening to this, head on over to the YouTube channel, watch us. You can watch Janelle blush a little bit as we talked about her and her issue. You can see the cover that Kory displayed. And so for that, again, thank you for being you, buddy. And for our listeners, each and every one of us, we need to be doing something for ourselves. We need to really be looking to learn something, to do something, and share something to make you and those around you better every shift. Thanks for listening, everybody.